well, since I was about 16. And so here we are gathered tonight, and thank you for everybody for this commitment and the opening and the sharing. So let's take a moment to gather our minds and our hearts. And if you feel comfortable, just close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in. And we give thanks to the Creator for this gathering and the voices and the unheard voices that we're expressing through our ancestors in this sharing, in this knowledge that has been gathered amongst our nation, honoring our Métis Nation on the western side of our territories. And thank you for all the strongholds and Sashing our warriors and MNBC and the researchers. You know, I really, in my heart, I feel them as our knowledge keepers, carrying a way forward and showing us a way forward for our Métis, you know, our Métis ancestors, our women, our grandmothers, our aunties, our cousins, and our babies and those of yet to come, that we journey forward in a good way, that we stay strong and united, and that our voices are heard in a kind, gentle, and giving way, and that we move forward with these strengths and dance forward with pride and with the knowledge that we carry forth. For all of this, I'm eternally grateful. Marcy, hi, all our relations.
Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and the stories. So this is a really important day, Sisters in Spirit. This is a day that has taken root, has a long history and a very tragic and sad history. And why October is so important in that history is between 1978 and 2002, nearly 70 sex trade workers disappeared from Vancouver's downtown east side. And in the 90s, British Columbia's Highway 16 became known as the Highway of Tears. And so in October in 2004, Amnesty International released a Stolen Sisters report and about human rights response to the discrimination and violence against Indigenous women in Canada. And this is where work was done in partnership with Native Women's Association in Canada. And through the work with the Native Women's Association of Canada, at that time, they were able to estimate that more than 500 Indigenous women and girls were either missing or murdered over the previous 20 years. So why do we say Sisters in Spirit? Well, this comes from NWAC's advocacy for research to gain accurate numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. And this resulted in an annual Sisters in Spirit vigil that is hosted every October 4th since 2005. And so every October, communities come across Canada and honor the spirit of our missing and murdered Indigenous women and stand alongside their families to offer support. And so this is where it leads us to the importance of launching Thanks for Listening report tonight. Thanks for Listening report emerged out of Métis Nation BC's work in collaboration with Métis Women BC Provincial Governance Council to better understand the experiences Métis women were experiencing in the missing and murdered Indigenous women and Two-Spirit people. This is a long journey that has been coming, and many people on here tonight know how long that journey has been. It's taken a long seed in Métis Nation BC. And so we're really excited, strange choice of words, forgive me, but it has been a long time coming, and we finally have an opportunity to bring this to light. And it's bringing it to light, the invisibility that Métis sisters and cousins experience in this overwhelming loss of our Indigenous cousins and sisters. And so with that, because I don't want to go too much more in, because we've got people here that are much more connected to this report that can shed more light on the importance of this evening and bringing this. And so with that, I invite Mr. Elliott to just share some of her reflections about the importance of thanks for listening.
Thank you, Sheila. Wonderful preamble and setting this stage up. It was beautiful. And thank you, Elder Dory, for starting us off in a good way. Like Sheila said, this report has been a long time coming, and I think the work has taken the path it needs to take. And we want to make sure that we're capturing and honoring our community members, our sisters, our cousins, words and essence appropriately and in a good, meaningful way. I know this work comes with a lot of responsibility and passion and heartfelt, and I know everyone in this room has connection to one of us that's gone missing or things haven't lined up. I think, you know, a moment of reflection for what is lost, but I think we're at the time where there's an opportunity to create some change and to make people listen, and that we won't continue on with the status quo and the way things were going. And I'm confident that the In Plain Sight listening report will be a catalyst for that. Thanks so much. You're on mute, Sheila.
Catchphrase of 2020-21. You're on mute. Oh my goodness, I got caught in the trap. Thank you so much. And so I have the honor and privilege now of inviting the report, some remarks from the report writers, sorry, for the Thanks for Listening report. So Dr. Natalie Clark, Patricia oh my goodness, Barkakis, my apologies, we should have worked this out beforehand, and Robbie Forsyth. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Tenzei. Maybe we'll take a moment and we'll just each introduce ourselves and locate where we are. I just want to give thanks to Dory for the beautiful opening, for connecting us back to the ancestors and forward to the ones yet to come, and all the little ones, and bringing us all into the circle. So I thank you for that. Tenzei, everyone. My name is Natalie Clark, and I'm joining you from beautiful Secwepemcúlecw, a little place called Turtle Valley. And yeah, just really grateful to have been asked, so long ago. I remember answering the phone call in the Safety Mart parking lot from the fabulous youth pair who really had started the Sashing Our Warriors. And I'll talk more about just holding and caring and being in relationship with the stories. But I've always known that we don't do this work alone. And I think I right away said, I need to find, I need some sisters. And the sisters that I found and joined me and really have become part of that, because we've been together so long on this journey as well. I'd like to invite Patricia and Robbie to just bring themselves into the space as well. And yeah, so maybe Patricia, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you, Natalie. Tenzei, Patricia Barkakis. That's clearly not a Métis name, so from my dad's side. But I'm here today joining you from the unceded traditional and ancestral territory of the Musqueam people. I'm in my office at UBC and, you know, have watched the sun slowly sinking as we've been coming into this circle, and just feel really honored to be here tonight. Also really honored to have been invited into this work by Natalie and by the Métis Nation of BC, and feel incredibly honored to be a part of this circle tonight, to launch the report and see it out into the world. And I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Hi, Tenzei, Robbie Davy, and I don't think that's a Métis name either. So my mom's name was Roy and both her parents are Métis, so they go back a long ways. So maybe some of us are even related, but she comes from Knoll and Landry and Gaudry, so and Charette. So a long history there of Métis women. And yeah, Natalie brought me in on this report, so I feel honored to have been able to work on it. And it has, kind of shaped my next steps. And I'm sort of working on a PhD and focusing on Métis women and their experiences in with education, kind of generally. But yeah, been honored to work on this, and I'm honored to be at this circle as well tonight. Thanks.
Okay, I know that I could talk forever about this important work. I just want to take a moment. I want to recognize, I see Carly, and it's lovely to see your voice. And Carly, I don't know if you can see this little bundle that I'm holding, but years ago now, actually, you and I had dinner, and we spoke about this report. I talked about the work I was doing, and I think you had already gifted me this a long time ago, but I still keep all my little bundles when I get them. And so Carly, I just want to recognize, Carly and I also go back a ways, and was honored to be a part of her learning journey, but also always receiving, and invited Carly to be one of the key readers of the report. So I just want to acknowledge that, along with Dory's important input. And I don't know if you just want to say hi, Carly, but just wanted to acknowledge as well your important work. You're good? Okay. So.
Thank you, Nat. I'm good, but thank you.
Okay, that's okay. There, I got your voice. See, I was like, I'm very consent-based. Anyone who knows and works with me, I still do work with violence here in the communities. I get to work with Métis and Indigenous women and girls. Yeah, so really always holding those pieces. And I think that that's one of the pieces that we held with this, is how to honor and hold the consent that at the moment people had shared in terms of the report, but also honor each of the stories going forward. And so I think that that's something that we really strove to do. And no, I'll turn that off. So I'm actually going to read a little bit from the report. I understand that, yeah, this is our launch. I wasn't sure if people had seen it. I understand it'll be coming soon. So we're just going to talk a little bit about, I don't even like the word methodology. It's more, I would say, the relationship that has been created, and the amazing circle that has come together around this. And I think that's probably the most important. And it happens in the ways around kitchen tables and our phone calls. But I actually think that the most important part was that quote, "Thanks for listening." And I think each one of the stories that I read, and I read them all, and there's a piece in here that I think really mattered. I can't remember exactly how many people responded. I know it was over 400 respondents. And as someone who's done research for a long time, and especially with like a survey, lots of times people don't write very much. And I have to say, every single person responded with story, with sharing. And so each one of those I felt a responsibility to, and I think we all did, like a very sacred and important responsibility to each one of the stories that was shared. And that "thanks for listening" was a quote, and is a quote. And I think that's really important, because it says, even when I'm writing just on my computer, hiding in a room away from children, because it's dinner time, that there's an awareness that there is someone who's going to be responsible for these stories, and in a sacred and important way. And I think that that's at the very least the most important, is that in fact, I think I talked to someone the other day, and it's like, oh, I filled that report out and I wondered whatever happened to it. And I think it's so important to know that it is being held and cared for in the ways it needed to be. And as Minister Trace said, that we're bringing this forward at the time that it needs to be. So I'm going to just read you a little bit about, because I often write in my journal when I'm writing and listening to these stories. And I remember sitting, and it was actually around this time, it was in December, when I was reading through them for the first time. And I felt this important need to do ceremony, to pray, to make tea, um, to smudge, to be very conscious of how I was holding them in that moment. And so I think that that's not a methodology, although that might be what it's called, of, how did you take care of what you heard or read in the report. And so I think what I'll share here is just the witnessing practices that I think we brought to this. This practice brought tears. I went to the stories 4 times, offering sage, tobacco, wild rose, women's medicine, prayers, and my dreams. I offered the stories my love. I made tea. I listened to music. I offered them my witnessing. I offered them my accountability. I offered them my commitment to change. Resistor, sacred sister, for those who did not share, for those who took their stories to the spirit world with them, I hear you, I witness you. Somewhere the Métis sisters of this land are dancing in my dreams. I see them living in the in-between. They dance beside the river. I actually had a dream while I was reading all the stories of Métis women dancing by the Pritchard Bridge, which isn't far from me if you've ever driven to Kamloops to Chase. And I spoke to Uncle Mike, who's one of the elders at TRU, and he said there was a Métis, that's how he described it, settlement that was there at Pritchard. Anyways, I definitely witnessed the dancing and the prayer. So I just want to first and foremost say that for anyone who shared that the utmost care and love and ceremony was brought to each of those. And it's probably changed me in ways. I've been doing research for a long time, and I do research on the area of violence. And this was probably one that has woven itself into me in a way that it will continue to. And it really was because so many of these stories, all of them, had not been told or witnessed in the ways that Métis women and girls stories have been made silent or lost in the statistics. And so the other thing that we wrote at the beginning of the report was just a little piece of, it's probably the first time I've seen it in a research report, and it's just medicine for healing and violence-informed reading. So when you do read the report, that you see that we are offering medicine from our berry picking basket to support you. The following is definitely not a prescriptive list, but instead sharing a beadwork pattern. I'm wearing some Métis earrings right now, animating the healing within each stitch, each recipe shared, each dance step, each written word. As you read the report, it is important to consider what has helped you to survive, to consider your resistance and coping in all the spaces you move in. Violence does not define you. It has been mapped onto your body by the colonial system. You are not risk. You are beauty. You are survival. And then there's a little bit there, but just how to take care of yourself, how when we're triggered, maybe even already just because it comes through our senses, that could be our smell, it could be something visual, it could be a word, to make sure you keep your things around you. I have a stone, I have the little bundle that Carly made. So, even right now, just take a moment and find an item that makes you feel good from a sensory place, a smell, a taste. I've got my cup of tea. Pause whenever you need to as you're reading, take wellness breaks or wellness walks. And also, like we did today, begin with ceremony. Even reading about it alone, if you're reading the report, begin with ceremony. Have your community, your ceremony, your prayer, your breath, Elder Dory reaching out. And that's a really important piece that we wanted to offer as well. I think that I'm probably already saying more than I need to, but I wanted to just say to keep your medicines close. And I think the last piece, and then I'll invite, we each have a little piece just to close, is how we closed the report was really to come back to that thanks for listening and the importance of, it's very long. When you get it, you'll see I'm actually scrolling right now to the end. It's almost over 100 pages. So, you might take time with it as well. So we witnessed the words and experiences of every one of the Sashing Our Warriors survey respondents, and in writing this report, we amplified those voices. The incidents reported throughout the survey were often identified by respondents as only one or some of many they could have related. as one respondent indicated about the violence she had experienced and decided to talk about. Those are two that stand out in my mind. Thanks for listening. These words, thanks for listening, stood out to us as the most significant aspect of the survey for respondents. The Métis women, girls, and gender diverse individuals who responded to the survey clearly wanted to disclose these stories. We honor them and their stories through our listening and witnessing and in writing this report. In doing so, we hope to provide insight into Métis women, girls, and gender diverse individuals' experiences of violence and the work that needs to be done to ensure they're supported in their paths to healing, and that future programming policies, that's really what it was about, was to get the programming, our Métis girls groups, our women's groups that we need to remedy that. So merci to all the respondents for sharing their stories. We are listening, and we end with, will you? And I think we were just, each we're gonna close with just one way we're carrying this work forward. So I have carried this forward already into the work that I'm doing around making sure that we have Métis and Indigenous women's voices at the table, being part of a report with Mcquaid around gender-based Indigenous analysis and the importance of making sure Métis women and girls have experiences there, and with the Métis women and girls that I get to work with each week. I actually had some youth that I worked with who also read the report or parts of it or tried to be a part of that witnessing. So that's one of the ways I carry it forward, and also for that next generation, as Dory reminded us. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Patricia and Robbie for any final remarks. And once again, just gratitude.
Thank you. And yeah, just to echo the words in the report and Natalie's words, what an incredible gift to have done this work and to bear witness to these stories and the words, which have certainly, yes, woven themselves into the very fabric of my being through the reading of them and through the writing of this report with Natalie and Robbie. And I carry this work forward in the work that I do with law students at the law school here at UBC, and in the work that I do as a lawyer, but most specifically in educating people about the specific experiences of Métis women, girls, and gender diverse people, and really bringing that to bear on the work of combating injustice and really trying to achieve some kind of justice for Métis women, girls, and gender diverse people in BC and in Canada. So this report will be, once it's officially out into the world, will make up a body of work that will be read by all first-year law students here at the Allard School of Law this year in Indigenous Settler Legal Relations. And of course, I'll be also talking about this work in my Métis law class. And those are just a couple ways that I carry the work forward, but also, you know, in the incredible work that I think that we're probably destined to continue to do, moving this forward into the future with Natalie and Robbie. And yes, thank you so much.
Robbie, over to you. Do you want to take a moment? You can have the...
Sure, I just lost my cursor. Sorry about that. That's the challenges of the virtual world. So this work has caused me to think a lot more about my upbringing and my mom's family, primarily because my dad's English, has an English background, but just all, you know, when I read through some of the work that Natalie had, you know, woven into the findings when we wrote and merged and synthesized all of the quotes from some of the people who had written their thoughts and their experiences. So all I could, you know, it was a lot of even the things that I read was impactful in terms of thinking about my mom's sisters, and there's 9 of them, and just thinking about all the ways it just sort of brought my history into kind of a more clear focus in terms of the privileges that I have because of the way my mom brought us up, but that also came at a cost for her because she doesn't, she doesn't identify as Métis, and so all of us, I have 3 sisters, we all do. But I just think that's a coping mechanism and a survival strategy that she used, and I don't have to use that necessarily anymore. So that's, something that she's given that I have that she didn't have. But the other thing was just to think about the instability that a lot of her sisters have gone through. And I just, the work that I do going forward, I'm thinking about in my PhD, I proposed to do sort of a study looking at women's access to education, which I know a lot of this report was based on women's access to programming and safety and all kinds of different things. But in terms of education, I think, this is not the only thing that supports people, but and I go back to my mom again, she focused on making sure we got an education. And I kind of, I've gone up and down and where I am with post-secondary, but in terms of, I just think about my aunts and what could they have made different choices in relationships had they been able to have more agency in their lives. And I just think about, that was talked about in a lot of those quotes. So just a lot of, and I've done it myself. So, I mean, I'm not a stranger to some of these experiences either. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do, is sort of looking at women and their access to education, specifically around, online, and sort of looking at how culture impacts how people look, sort of work in discussion groups, and whether whether technology affords access or not, and how culture comes into it. So that's the one thing I can think of how I'm bringing it forward. I am still acting as a women's rep for my community, so hopefully we can, work through some of this report in a meeting together or a gathering if it's of interest. But yeah, so thank you,
Robbie. And so I think with that, the report was really to make change. And I always remember the story of this, once the story is out there, it can't be brought back. It's already out there making change, to paraphrase in a powerful Indigenous woman storyteller saying that in a story I read years and years ago. And so I just think that each one of us, just by being here tonight, and anyone who listens afterwards, like Dory said, we're part of that a circle square right now, but we know it's a whole circle that's out there. And so really it's about the commitment to make change in policy programs, in small ways, in your community, to make sure that, as was written in the messages, I think it was Heaven of Hope Canada talked about that great violence of not being seen, not being heard, and not being safe. So creating spaces that the journey can carry forward. I think that's my biggest commitment as well. And I think MNBC, we know it's just the beginning, that we would like to invite these stories to come forward in other ways as well, interviews, focus groups, so that we can make change. So I think with that, I'll turn it back over to Sheila. And I just want to recognize Katie's got hers off. She's probably at home with baby. And I see Monique, I see many, I think Katie may have been the person who made that first phone call to me. I also know there was a lot of people who early on were reviewers of this. And I just want to recognize those elders, those women's reps, anyone in spirit or otherwise that contributed. So just, and any mistakes are my own. I just want to acknowledge with great gratitude, whatever put this part of my journey in path. And just my own accountability to my Métis ancestors and kin as well, and the sisters that go before me. Cook's Jam. And thank you, Tenzei. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very humbled and grateful that I got to come in at the very tippy end and be here to cheerlead, seeing this report come to light. So thank you again for the honor and the privilege to be here and to support this. And I'm going to now, as I had shared earlier, share a video that also came from this work as well. So if you just bear with me for just a moment, because we did practice this, so this is going to go very smoothly. Okay, here we go.
Métis Nation British Columbia strives to end violence against Métis women and girls through the Sashing Our Warriors campaign. Their stories of violence and abuse have been silenced as they continue to hide in plain sight. By wearing a warrior sash, you commit to honoring, respecting, and protecting the Métis women and girls in your life. End violence through the power of ceremony and be a warrior.
Thank you so much again to all of you for sharing your time, your wisdom, your contributions, the stories, expertise. I'm really grateful to be a part of this. This video will be posted on the MNBC website tomorrow, and we'll share it through the social media to make sure that people have access to it. Also, the report, a digital copy, will also be posted to the MNBC website. And we are getting printed copies. So for those that registered through the Eventbrite, there was an opportunity to request a printed copy if you wanted. And there will be various spaces where we will make a copy available so that we can ensure that these stories continue to roll through and continue to teach us and open up spaces to continue the sharing. To that end, again, I have the honor to ask Elder Dory Labakan to close us in a good way.
Marcy, what I would really like to do in closing is to honor everybody in the circle this evening. I think what I'll ask you, Sheila, to do is from your circle square, if we could go around, if each individual could introduce themselves, and if they could express perhaps in 1 to 3 words, we'll keep it short, what this has meant for you this evening. It's beginning, I call it a beginning, or a reawakening of our voices for our ancestors, for our matriarchal, powerful women that have walked before us, and those that have yet to come. And in honoring our LGBTQ community as well through this journey. So as I introduced myself earlier, well, I didn't introduce myself, Sheila did, but my name is Dory Labakan. My father was Métis. My mother was an Anderson Cardinal. She was Métis. So my roots go way back, and I'm a hunter. No, I'm not a hunter anymore, but I'm definitely a gatherer and a beater, and I love to listen to Métis music. So those are my 3 things that I bring passionately forward. Marcy, hi.
Thank you. So yes, I'm Sheila Lewis. From my mother's side, I am Plains Cree. From my father's, I'm Skeecheson from the Secwepemc Nation. My three things, swimming, continue to volunteer with the TRC reading circles, and then my nephew. Anytime that I can take him to, there's a fall dance that we go to out in Lake Country, and so he gets the opportunity to see some traditional openings and round dance, and those are my three. So as you said, from my circle square, so my next circle square is Robbie.
Okay. Yeah, I've already said my name and my mom's names and her parents' names. They moved from the Red River Valley to Prince George in the 50s. I've recently taken up beading. I wouldn't say I'm an excellent beater, but I am a passionate beater, maybe. Let's see, I do knit. I have knitted a lot, and I've been focusing a lot of attention on scholarly work because that seems to be part of the deal right now. I have a son who is very proud to be Métis, and he is 10. So that's about it. Those are my three things. Thanks.
Natalie?
I can hear a kid giggling in the background. I don't know. It must be a video game. Sorry, it just loud giggles in the back. It's a good reminder. Yes, so just acknowledging, Sheila, I didn't know you had Skeetchison relation. So this is why we do this, because my kid's papa is from Skeetchison as well. So yeah, just recognizing that I'm part of the Secwepemc community here as well through kinship ties, and then Métis ties in Montana on my grandma's side and her relatives down there in kin. Yeah, her cousin was a Contway, and then through his family as well. And they just this last year traced it back to the Red River. I mean, when I went to meet them, I knew, I was like, oh, these are Métis aunties, but you know, sometimes these journeys take a while. And yeah, so proud to bring my children into that circle. And the three things, I really, really like thrifting. And I know that's a funny thing to say, but behind me is a beautiful Métis women's regalia with sashes that I found at the little Salmon Arm thrift store in the costume section. And I think that's my commitment to fashion. And reading this report really reminded me the stitching, the sewing. When my grandma passed, it was on my mom's side, I wanted her button box. Sewing was an important thing, and that was what I needed and wanted. So I still have her buttons. And so I think that I may not be a good beater, but I really do like holding that. So I love that with the girls I work with. And then just the girls and the girls groups that I get to do. My counseling work is definitely one of the ways I get to be in relation and kin with that. And yeah, I think I've spoke lots. I feel like that's my two things. Oh, and drink lots of tea. And this says love. So cup of tea is always good medicine. So yeah, I'll keep my tea cozy going for anyone who wants to talk. And I'm open to anyone reaching out after this as well. I can put an email. Okay, that's me.
Next in the circle is Pat.
Disnikashoyen, Pat Eklund, and I'm grateful to be here. I currently live on the territories of the Salish people on the Saanich Peninsula, and I am from the prairies. I'm a prairie girl, Métis. My mother was born in Willabunch, and I'm grateful to be here and listening to this opening. In the work that I've done throughout the years, and with and without government, and the work that I've done academically, after 7 candles now, I have moved more from the head to the heart. And one of the things that comes to me as I listen is a teaching that one of my elders gave me, and that was, we are told to learn to listen, and that's how we learn. The thing is, we need to learn to listen. We tend to listen very much from our head. Very easy to do if we're, on a certain stream in life. And there's many ways of listening. Listening with our heart, with listening with our emotion, and not just with our ears. So it takes all those directions, and I really am looking very much forward to the report and reading it, because like I think it was one of the other women mentioned their mother and I think 2 of my aunties who would have been part of this report, very likely. And I think currently of my niece. And so it's really all very, very important work that you're doing, and appreciate it all. Kakian and Wakamaganak, all my relations.
Thank you, Pat. Next in my circle is Carly.
Hi. Yeah, still trying to find some words. My name is Carly. I am Métis from St. Adolphe. I'm in Manitoba on my mother's side, and from the Battleford area on my father's side. Calling in from Vancouver on the unceded territory of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. And yeah, I just want to lift my hands up to the many hands that I know contributed to this report being ready and to be shared. And yeah, just want to express my gratitude for the love and care that was put into carrying these stories, and feeling really privileged to have seen some of that work behind the scenes. So just, yeah, I feel like it's rare sometimes to know that our stories have been cared for in such a way, in ceremony and so carefully. So I really want to lift everyone up for having contributed towards that, and also all of the participants who were brave enough to share their stories. And yeah, I think that is something I'm just really happy that it's ready to be released. So that is what I will leave you with. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. And next in the circle is Patricia.
Thank you. So I've already introduced myself a little bit, but just to say that I'm Métis on my mom's side, and our family lives in and hails from Alberta, from the Lac St. Anne and Lac La Biche Métis communities there, and that with interrelations and connections to Cree communities, but also back to Red River. So very, very important to me to acknowledge my family. I didn't really know my father's family very well at all. So my mother's family is my family. That's my home and my heart. And especially in these times when we can't return home to see the people we love as we so often would have done in the past on a regular basis. I just want to, my son is in my thoughts a lot tonight. He's 23 and he's living back in Red Deer, where most of my family is all together. They've always moved around together. And and my papa, who's 95 and in living in a long-term care home there now, and just thinking of them a lot. And my mom and my her siblings and my aunties and my nana, and thinking about all of their experiences and how much their experiences are reflected in the words in this report too, and some of my own in some ways also, and just thinking about the incredible opportunity that the words that the participants have shared really allows us to do in terms of change, and thinking about change, as Natalie and Robbie both talked about too, and really ending intergenerational injustice, as it appears specifically for Métis women, girls, and Two-Spirit and gender diverse folks. And then also, just on a lighter note, really grateful that I had the opportunity through COVID to take some Michif lessons and to be engaged in some language revitalization work, and how much that work has felt like it's brought me home too, in many ways, and that I love continuing to do that work, and trying to be a better speaker. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Robin is next.
Gee, I believe I'm related to a lot of you. My mother is a Goodry from Willow Bunch. And also on my father's side, I'm a Pruden from Northern Saskatchewan. So my Métis roots go deep. I'm here totally out of interest for my mother, my grandmother, my sisters. I'm the oldest of five girls, 5 women now. My nieces and my granddaughters. There's got to be a change, and I want to know what I can do to help. Merci.
Thank you, Robin. And next in the circle is Denise.
Tenzei, Denise Mcquaid, Kashan. Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited about this report. I am from the St. Albert Mission, just outside of Edmonton. I am the great-granddaughter of Pierre Belrose and Justine Beaudry. My great-grandmother Justine was the granddaughter of Cuthbert Grant Jr. I live in Secwepemc and work closely with Le Métis Sisters, most recently as a clinical counselor for youth. I also have many other hats. I'm on the board of the First Peoples Wellness Circle. I'm on the board of the Mood Disorder Society of Canada, and I'm an Indigenous advisor and coach to Healthcare Excellence Canada. So I hope you will send me lots of reports so that I can send it out in the world on the national stage, because I think it needs to be read and heard by many. I anticipate that this report is going to be the butterfly effect. So like the butterfly, it will flap its gentle wings, and in a world of chaos, it will create a tsunami. And I look forward to the tsunami of Métis women and girls' voices, raising up what we need to do to make our better world for everyone. Miyo nananan, everyone, wellness to all. Mcquaid.
Thank you, Denise. I hope we have your email. We'll make sure you get many copies to distribute and share out. And next in the circle is Myrna. Oh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Myrna Logan, and I am coming to you from the unceded territory of the Comox Nation. And that is on Vancouver Island. For people that don't know where that is, it's on Vancouver Island, north of Nanaimo in the city of Courtenay. I have the honor and privilege of serving my Métis community as the women's rep, as well as the program coordinator here at the Mikisew Métis Association. In my former community, my Métis roots are from, of course, the Red River Valley. Then my family moved to Saskatchewan, And then their family moved to Edmonton area. The Egg Lake area is where my father's family was raised. A nice little Métis family of 12 children. And then my father moved to the Peace River country to Homestead. And that's where I was born and raised. And, you know, just keep moving west. So I think I'm as far west, unless I move to Tofino, as I can get without leaving Canada. But in my former community, I was a chartered community president, and I had the honor of attending at an AGM when some of the report was being introduced, and some of the stories were just starting to be heard. The surveys had been done. We had, I think, the BC Lions there at that particular event, and it's been something that I've been following for years. And so I want to give gratitude to all of you that have worked on it, and all of the women that participated by filling out the survey and telling the stories. So gratitude to everyone, and I look forward to sharing it all with my community. Hi, all my relations.
Thank you very much, Myrna. And Monique.
Oh, hey there. I knew this moment was coming. Tenzei, Manik Kursel, Dishinikashan. My family originally came from the Red River. I'm Métis on my mother's side and complicated on my father's side. We actually grew up in the Ktunaxa Nation, so the East Kootenays. And I recently moved to the West Coast last year. So we're on the Stolo, Coquitlam, and Katzie territories. And I have a thirst for accumulating knowledge, which has proven incredibly useful in finding out more about Métis history and my own history. And yeah, getting back to some of those more traditional ways of being. I've accumulated some knowledge in plant medicine over the past 4 years, which I have enjoyed, which also is part of going out into the forest and just getting back into nature and learning to identify plants. So that's been my joys for the past little while here.
Thank you, Monique, and thank you for bringing us full circle. Dory, that's the circle.
Heaven of Hope, I'm speechless and I'm breathless, and I thank you for your tenacity and your listening to yourself to be with us in this very safe circle tonight. The Creator has a way of guiding us, and what I was feeling and being directed to is hearing our voices in this circle, and the power and the beauty of that comes forth through pain and tears, and we get together and celebrate our tears together. We're all connected in one way or another. Natalie, I've known you for many years. We haven't seen each other physically for many years. My history with Robbie goes back to my first years at TRU as well, and I thank Robbie for this and her being brought into my life, into my circle. And Patricia, the three of you have just done amazing work. I've witnessed some of it through Robbie's life of being a single parent and a wonderful mother and an auntie, and So I'm just grateful for all of you for being a part of this. And then our grandmothers, their voices are coming through us. Our DNA goes way back and it's coming forth. And as it will journey forward, my eldest daughter, who lives in Vancouver, is, light brown hair, blue-eyed, freckles, and she just shared with me not long ago how she struggles with her Métis identity and being able to be confident in community with that. And she hasn't found that place in her heart yet. So I'm hoping that maybe through this and then witnessing the warrior sashing video and all of that, because I, in many ways, tried to overprotect my daughters from abuse as I was abused, and they'd never thought it would happen to them, but it happened to my oldest daughter. So, together we join hands in our tears and strengthening together. So for me, this was our closing prayer. And this is how I like to close my invitation to a closing prayer. So all of our thoughts, our words, our feelings, our tears, our emotions have come together this night, thanks to all of the wonderful people that have endeavored to do this work. And I look forward to continuing this journey. All our relations from all the territories, from the East Kootenays, where I was raised, to, here we are today, and to the coast, to Vancouver Island, to, if anybody's listening from up north. There's another elder from Tecumseh, Sandy Hendry, that works as an elder at TRU. She wishes to bring this forward. She wasn't able to attend tonight, but she wants to bring this forward in that stream as well. So let's broaden our community. And I've always wanted to move to Hope, so maybe that'll happen. All our relations. Marcy, hi.
All our relations. Thank you very much, everyone, for this opportunity to come together in circle and share with our sisters, for our sisters. If you have any questions, requests, just email mowge@mmbc.ca, and I'll do my best to facilitate connections. Thank you again, everyone, for sharing your time, your powerful, powerful words, your image, and your heart. Thank you. Good night.
I just want to say I put my email there too. If anyone wants to connect, I'm on medical, but I'm more than happy